You know, in 1986, when this film was made, there probably wasn't a lot of ways to play back something. Today we got things like YouTube, streaming, and I feel like Frank Booth could have really benefited from just being able to play some of his favorite songs in a visual medium over and over. Like, benefited from it a lot. So, welcome to my first retro review on the movie Blue Velvet from, as said earlier, 1986. This is made by the late, great David Lynch. It has been heralded as a very odd, fucked up movie that a lot of people don't get, and a cinematic masterpiece, and a masterclass in taking a small budget and making it work, filming on location versus filming in studio and bringing them together, and all sorts of really cool shit that you can dive down a really deep rabbit hole on YouTube and get all these behind the scenes facts and stuff. Yeah, that you're probably not going to get here because that's not what kind of YouTuber I am. So I wanted to do a retro review on a movie that I knew was loved by a lot of people and iconic, but that I haven't seen. Not all my retro reviews. Oh, by the way, this is my first one. If you're, did I save it already? I think I said that already. So if you're watching this in the future when I got like 17 or 18 retro reviews on a playlist, this should be the first one in those. I'm going to go ahead and grade as of right now my retro reviews up front because I am going to spoil a lot of things in these. Before I drop the spoiler warning and go into any spoilers, I will say that if I had to give this film a rating based on my letter grade system, no jokes, no sarcasm, no crappy witty dad jokes about it. It is a solid B movie in the most wonderful, positive way possible. So with that out of the way, let's drop a spoiler card. Spoiler card out of the way. Blue Velvet is a fucked up movie. Yep. End of review. Roll the credits. I couldn't go that long without making some stupid joke. Let's talk about Blue Velvet, 1986, by the late great David Lynch. It stars Isabella Rossellini as Dorothy, Kyle MacLachlan as Jeffrey Beaumont, Dennis Hopper as Frank Booth, Laura Dern as Sandy, and a lot of other really different types of characters. So what's the premise of this movie? Well, if you're a stranger to the world of David Lynch, and a lot of people watching this will be, he really likes to make films that feel like you're in a dream. So our main protagonist, Jeffrey Beaumont, walks through a field after going to see his father, whom has a stroke in the beginning of the film, to visit him. And he walks through a field there, and he walks through a field back. And on his way back from this, he finds a severed ear. There's a lot of neo-noir elements to this movie, and it's probably in that category or erotic fiction. I don't know. To me, this is a pretty hard movie to like pigeonhole into a genre. It's got that detective and that mystery feel. So like a neo-noir mystery erotic thriller. Fucking, I don't know. Jeffrey is a little weird. Like, he's got a very plainness to him. Simpleness, boredness. But weirdness, and that really bleeds through later. I was watching this movie and I thought for a while there, like, God, I'd like to have a protagonist that I can root for. I found a hard time rooting for this guy. There was a couple scenarios that he gets himself into, and I'm like, oh, dude, are they gonna kill this guy? I kind of hope so. You can tell that there's a lot of these, oh, here is America, white picket fences and rose bushes and all this Americana that is just so held up in our minds and our culture still to this day. And then there's a seedy underbelly to all of it. And that's this fictional town of Lumberton. You know, in the very beginning of the film, Jeffrey's dad has a stroke. And when he's on the ground, there was a moment that I don't know if I looked away or something like that, because Then we dive into the grass and there's all these bugs. And the way he grabs himself during a stroke, which to be completely transparent, I've never watched someone have a stroke. I don't think most people have. So he kind of grabs his neck and then we see these bugs. I'm like, oh, is this? I really had no idea what this movie is about. So I'm thinking, oh man, is this some kind of like fucked up virus, like our infection that's spread by insects? I literally thought that for a second because we go into like the insects. And it ties back to that at the very, very end of the movie with the bird having the insect in its mouth, the robin coming out, which is, we'll go into Laura Dern's character here in a minute, Sandy, and her monologue on robins, which was really fucking good. But all of that aside, I was just like scratching my head, like, I don't know what kind of fucking movie this is. And then they kind of leave you at that, diving into these bugs, and then we go to dad in the hospital being visited by son, and I think we're really going down this road of what happened to dad, and then that's just like bloop, dropped immediately. I don't even know if they say it's a stroke in the film. They might have. I might have missed it. I just know that from like some of the stuff I read on the film, because when I got done watching it, I was like, dude, that was a really good fucking movie. But what the fuck happened in the beginning? And like, he had a stroke. Oh, that makes sense. But I didn't realize he had a stroke compared to if he was just like horror movie attacked by some like stinger that's in his neck, and this is going to be some kind of like brain controlled zombie movie. Obviously, we figure out in the very opening moments of the film that this is going to be a fucked up movie, but it's not going to be that kind of fucked up movie. I like the fact as the movie goes on that there isn't any supernatural play at work. I mean, there's a couple of scenes where people are talking and there's a fucked up song being played and people are singing, and then when the scene ends, everyone just disappears. Like everybody got a frame, but still frame the scene and cut it, where it just looks like they stop. But that kind of shit happens in a dream. And again, that's the whole outlining fog to this David Lynch masterpiece. Is it feels like a fucked up dream that you would tell somebody about the day after you have it, or the morning when you wake up. Like, dude, I had this dream and my dad had a stroke, and then I found a severed ear, and then I wanted to find out where that severed ear came from, so I tracked it down, and there was this chick. She's a singer, and I snuck into her apartment with the help of this other cute chick, and both of these chicks were like kind of into me. I mean, it's a total fucking dream. So we find a severed ear, and we take the severed ear to the most nonchalant fucking detective I've ever seen in a movie. You tell anybody else about this severed ear? No, sir. Okay, great. Have a nice day. I wish it was almost that simple, but it's not. It's like, let's take a field trip to the medical examiner kid that I kind of know that brought this to me. Would that really happen? Have that really happen? Want to dream it fucking would. And that became my logic to this whole film. Laura Dern's character, Sandy, is the daughter of the detective he brought the ear to. And she's over, I guess, his study or stuff where he works at home. So here's a bunch of stuff and gives this guy information. Now, a little context on this. This guy's, I think, early college and he's back home because of what happened to his dad. And she's like late high school. So they probably know each other from the community. She has a boyfriend already, I think named Mike. Sandy gives him the information he needs to find out more about this person in this apartment, this person of interest, which ends up being Dorothy. And Dorothy, played by Isabella Rossellini, is a singer, as I said in my mocking dream thing earlier. And she likes to sing the song Blue Velvet. Or she might not like to sing it, but she has to sing it. Dorothy is in this apartment, and these two get this plan of going in there and trying to get into the apartment. And he gets the bright idea to dress like a bug guy and go and spray her kitchen and stuff like that. And she'll play a Jehovah's Witness. And I automatically like the fact that even when that scene takes place, we've already subverted the audience. And I'm a sucker for shit like that. Because I'm like, oh man, something's going to happen. Like, he's going to mess up while he's in there. And she's going to kind of rescue him. No, we take this moment to introduce another character to the plot. Another cop within the city that I didn't see coming. So he goes in to spray the apartment. Again, I don't like to do a whole like play-by-play of the movie, but some shit happens and he ends up getting the key and getting out, but she never played the Jehovah's Witness. Sandy never made it. And we find out that Sandy was already kind of like saw this guy knocking on the door. And that already sets up the mystery and the intrigue of this film. Like, who the fuck is this singer? Who is this random? Where the fuck is this gonna? What are we doing? Who is this Jeffrey guy? And what the fuck is wrong with him? Just drop it. And then I'm like, okay, more dream logic. Let's not drop it. Let's see how far the rabbit hole goes. And where does the rabbit hole go? It goes to this guy, Jeffrey, coming back to this apartment where this singer is, hiding in her closet, watching her come in, watching her take her clothes off, being a complete fucking perv, which is great because Sandy asked him earlier before this scene if he was a pervert. And I'm just like, yep, he's a pervert. So he's in this closet and she ends up hearing him. Comes over there, pulls him out of the closet. Really weird fucking scene where you like seeing people take off their clothes and stuff like that. And he just heard this really intense phone call she had. All these fucking weird feelings going on. Really, really great scene of mystery and, again, erotic thriller. Because I'm like, what the hell is it? What am I about to watch? And it does get weird. It gets really weird. And that's this movie. She ends up making him strip down because she's like, you like watching people strip down? But then she starts having this PSD shit go on where she feels like, oh, now here's this, I guess, semi-naked guy in front of me. And that's the situation I've been put into. Because we learn here very shortly that someone else is going to knock on the door. And when they do, the whole movie just goes, because now we get to meet Frank Booth. One of the single most fucked up villains I've ever seen. Dennis Hopper plays this fucking weirdo to perfection. We get to see a really, really uncomfortable scene and learn what's going on with Dorothy, which is she's a sex slave prisoner in this apartment. And she's there to get this guy off, but not in any normal sense. This dude's like huffing shit. I don't know if it's like helium or some sort of tranquilizer, but whatever he's huffing, I don't think it's helium because his voice is never like when he gets done, but he's got this breathing mask on and he gets off on this chick. But before that even really happens, he's like asking, he's got some serious Freudian issues. Let's just put it that way. He's got a mommy complex. It's really fucking weird. But that's just scratching the surface of this underworld drug dealer mob-like guy that this Frank Booth character is. But after he leaves, our guy comes out of the closet and you start to really see some development in Jeffrey. I mean, Jeffrey was here on a mystery and now the mystery is still there, but it's drenched in concern. And he ends up asking her if she's all right, and she's freaking out because she's gone half mad and crazy from all this crap that's being done to her. And that really sets us on the journey for the rest of the film, which is how do we save Dorothy from Frank Booth? And our knight in shining armor is the most bland, weird fucking dude ever. This Jeffrey guy. Aided by a fucking like high school girl who I think she just wants some excitement in her small town boring life and she gets caught up with this guy. So our two gumshoe detectives continue figuring out what's going on. There's a scene where where Jeff's in his car and he's got this little shoebox camera where he's stalking Frank and figuring it out. Sandy and him go to this club and they watch her sing Blue Velvet, and then we see another time Frank watching Dorothy singing. There's a lot of really, really cool scenes in this movie. But my favorite scene in this movie has got to be a point after Jeffrey and Dorothy have made their friendship more adult and he's going back to her apartment and gets caught by Frank Booth and his goon friends, and they end up taking them on this car ride to this, I guess, drug den. And that's where we get more of the plot reveal. We learn that Dorothy's husband and child are being held by Frank Booth, and now we're at the location where that's happening, because when we get there he says the words, "Let tits see her kid." That's a pretty awkward thing too, because you don't see it, so you're wondering how the fuck, what's going on back there. But can't dwell on that too long, because there's this guy Ben who starts singing this Roy Orbison song, In Dreams, I think. and he's just lip syncing to like the construction lamp, like Marilyn Manson Sweet Dream style, the beautiful people kind of stuff, which is funny because I think Manson would work with David Lynch on Lost Highway and all that in the future. But he's singing to this construction lamp, and this is by far again my favorite scene in the movie because it's just fucking crazy. It is the most like dream, I'm having a dream scene in this whole film, which feels like that, but really feels fucked up. Like there's this part where we were at this apartment and this guy was singing into a construction lamp and there was these girls and these goons all around us and then we were just gone. Then they continue the car ride. So they took a car ride to this weird Ben guy's apartment and then they leave. They go to this area and they beat the living shit out of Jeffrey while some chick just dances on the car. Like one of the prostitutes on a, but she's just letting it go on the hood of this car while the during this song. And this is what I was talking about in the opening of my video. I'm like, I think Frank just needs the dark web, but it hasn't really been made yet. He needs to be able to sit in his house and watch the most fucked up videos to his favorite 1950s hits. And I think he would be satisfied. But since he's in this drug underworld, he's got to take all this weirdness out on these perfectly weird fucking people too, just not violently weird like he is. There is kind of a happier ever after aspect to this, after some thrilling like subversion with Frank Booth playing some other character with a mustache showing up at the end of the film, and I get a lot of thriller scenes. I could stay here for like 2 hours and talk to you about every scene in this film, but it is worth seeing. I mean, it is dated, but that's kind of more of the charm to it now. So I think I said earlier that Sandy talks about a dream she had about all the Robins going away and then coming back when everything was good. And then, yeah, at the end of this film, there's a Robin holding one of those fucked up beetles or bugs from the very beginning of the stroke scene. So a bunch of little shit ties in here. It doesn't feel like anything in this film is done by accident. It's meticulously, it's methodic, and it's just more from this awesome mind of David Lynch. So if you haven't seen Blue Velvet, I'd recommend seeing it. I think it's for like $3 or $4 on Amazon Prime. Definitely worth adding it to your collection. Let's end with this. What's your favorite David Lynch film? Or what's a good retro review you would recommend me doing? Also, if you like hanging out with me and listening to my scatterbrained thoughts, click here and listen to some more stitched reviews. And I'll see you guys next time.